Have you ever felt tired and had to go do something not very exciting or motivating, like work or school, maybe your kid's talent show, or maybe you had to take part in some physical activity? For a lot of people, especially young adults and teenagers, energy drinks are the answer. According to some studies, 1/3 of teens between the ages of 12 and 17 consume them regularly. It seems like after drinking it, their physical performance and alertness seems enhanced and they feel like they have more energy in their body. But why does this happen? And does it happen in the way that most people think it does? Okay, first, let's play a little biology word matching game. I'll start with the word energy. Now, just because I indicated that it has something to do with biology, there's a high chance that you said sugar. Well, because I'm an educated individual taking grade 12 biology, I'd say something like glucose or carbohydrates, but I'll let it slide. It is well known that sugar gives our bodies energy to perform daily tasks and activities. Heck, glucose, a carbohydrate, is used by all organisms for energy. Now, with this in mind, it makes sense why energy drinks contain such high amounts of sugar and are notorious for them. The more sugar, the more energy, right? The WHO, or World Health Organization, recommends that the amount of sugar the average person should consume be 5% of the total calorie intake, so around 25 grams. And a question that might arise is why added sugars are frowned upon in quote-unquote health communities or whatever, while sugary fruits are enforced and recommended in large amounts. Truly, natural and added sugars are very similar structurally and chemically, and get broken down into glucose basically the same way. However, sugars from whole fruits are paired up with different substances like minerals, vitamins, and fibers, which are extremely beneficial to our bodies. Fruits contain cellulose, which is a polysaccharide made up of many glucose molecules linked together with alpha and beta 1,4-glycosidic bonds. Briefly put, they contain a structure that cannot be broken down completely into glucose by humans. We simply do not possess an enzyme to do this, but we can break it down into a disaccharide, which in this case is fiber. And that fiber actually slows down the rate at which we can absorb the other sugar from the fruit, and does a bunch of other good stuff for digestion. However, there's none of that in energy drinks. And the typical 240 milliliter energy drink can contains around 27 grams of carbohydrates, all of which are added. A common one is sucrose, which is what table sugar is made of. And also keep in mind that they make 500 milliliter bottles, and even 1 liter bottles with proportional sugar concentrations. It is not bold to assume that most people drink their energy drinks rapidly. 5 minutes after a can has been opened, it is probably empty. And this is a problem, because ingesting high amounts of sugar at once drastically increases insulin levels, which studies have shown can cause insulin resistance, or a condition called hypoglycemia, which is where the body cannot absorb glucose as fast as it needs to, and instead the glucose builds up in your liver and increases blood sugar levels, which likely can lead to prediabetes and diabetes, done regularly and depending on the consumer's health and condition. Also, if lots of sugar is ingested when cells have no need for it, insulin stores it as fat, which can obviously result in other complications like obesity, and again, diabetes, etc. Now, there is room for discussion about glycogen, which is another polysaccharide macromolecule made from excess glucose in blood and has almost an identical structure to starch. It basically acts as a stored form of energy and is very important during any physical activity. But there's a limit to how much a person can store. Hence why if someone keeps eating sugar, they will surpass the amount of glycogen they can store and the carbs will be still converted into fat. And let's not forget the health of teeth, which declines when too much sugar is eaten because the bacteria that breaks down the enamel feeds on it. But what if the energy drink company flaunts the fact that one of their products has 0 sugar and no calories? In other words, no substances that actually supply the body with energy. The other most significant component in all energy drinks, regardless if it has 0 sugar or painful amounts of sugar, is caffeine. This suggests that despite our word matching skills, the word energy from energy drinks might be associated with something completely different. Caffeine, also known as the thing that is found in coffee, is a chemical stimulant that affects your brain activity. To be more specific, you and I naturally produce a purine molecule called adenosine, which has a structure that is very similar to the nucleotides and nucleic acid molecules like DNA and RNA. In fact, adenosine is considered a nucleoside, which has an S instead of a T only because it isn't bonded to a phosphate group. It is made from the catabolism or breakdown of ATP, which is the energy molecule of our cells. Its production is what glucose is needed for. Now, unlike ATP, adenosine is what actually makes us feel sleepy. The more that binds to adenosine receptors in our brain, the more we want to fall asleep. Caffeine, however, also a purine, both are double-ring structures containing nitrogen, is very similar in shape to adenosine. Because of this, it competes for the adenosine receptors in our brains, and when it binds, it doesn't produce the same sleepy effect that adenosine does, making us feel more awake, alert, and some consumers would describe being more energized. I won't get too far into this now, but in the body, caffeine breaks down into 3 slightly distinct molecules, which studies have shown actually enhance athletic performance, the ability to concentrate, increase heart rate, and more. For most healthy adults, the recommended maximum amount of caffeine that should be ingested daily is 400 milligrams. To help visualize that amount, it is around 5 shots of espresso, 3 250 milliliter cups of black coffee, 5 240 milliliter Red Bull cans, or 2.5 500 milliliter Monster Energy cans. There are also some energy drink companies that make 240 milliliter cans with 250 milligrams of caffeine. For teens aged below 19 years old, however, less than 100 milligrams is the maximum healthy amount. The brief explanation is that they can easily become dependent and even addicted to the substance. In general, though, anyone that ingests more than the healthy amount frequently will develop more adenosine receptors to counteract the caffeine's effectiveness, making them find themselves more tired when they don't drink coffee than before they started drinking coffee in the first place. But if drank in healthy amounts and responsibly, the caffeine in energy drinks should not cause problems and should theoretically aid someone's performance to an extent. None of this really gives energy. Sure, it will make someone feel less drowsy, and some studies show that caffeine can slightly increase metabolic rates, but it won't actually supply the body with energy. Like discussed earlier, even in the energy drinks that contain sugar, they are just in excess amounts and produce the same effect as energy drinks without sugar. Now, there are also some more less significant constituents that are actually shown off and advertised the most by the energy drink companies. Can you guess one of them? Taurine is an amino acid, but unlike most other amino acids, it is not a building block of proteins. It is produced by the body in slight amounts, aiding the central nervous system and cardiovascular system to function properly. Although it seems to be a very beneficial substance, the evidence for ingesting extra amounts of it boosting mental and physical performance is limited. The few studies that were done on taurine were reportedly unconventional and didn't produce consistent results. Another very popular ingredient in energy drinks is vitamin B. More specifically, the different B vitamins like vitamin B3, B6, B12, etc. Although they are all very healthy for us and have purposes for significant processes in our bodies, we won't be getting into those now. Why? Well, even though they have a reputation for helping the body convert ingested food into glucose, which is then used for energy, we already easily obtain B vitamins from a balanced diet. Some companies put 3,000% of the recommended daily value of vitamin B12 and up to 10 times the recommended amount of other B vitamins in their cans. Luckily, they are water soluble, so those excess amounts exit our bodies in urine. But in general, not even experts know the health reasons for which the energy drink companies choose to pump their products with so many of those vitamins. Overall, energy drinks don't really supply with energy. Instead, they seem more like the unhealthy cousin of coffee. They contain very high and unhealthy amounts of sugars or either lots of sweeteners, which also have their own drawbacks. They contain overdone amounts of ingredients that aren't even proven to provide any benefits, and the companies unfairly advertise these healthy chemicals which our bodies have no use for in the energy drinks. In my eyes, they just aren't worth it. If you are in desperate need to not be drowsy, drinking a can every once in a while isn't that bad, but you can just choose coffee. But like for everything else, especially something with caffeine, be responsible.